Yeah, so I'll talk about this Mohanji quote. Um, Also, some other things came to mind as well. So one is that um, from observation, I see that if people don't make a concerted effort to connect with something higher, something deeper, something more substantial, then some people just fall apart at some point. Like when they get older, instead of kind of getting wiser, they don't get wiser. Age doesn't bring the wisdom, and they just fall apart. Because I've said a few times on the group like this as well that there can be times when um, things are okay, the overall situation in our life is kind of fine, and we're kind of fine when it's like this. But when something changes or something that we didn't expect happens, we realize that we were completely unequipped for these events of life, i.e., when whatever changes in the outside world, whenever what happens, we feel it, we feel it like a punch to the face or a stab in the heart or a stab in the back or whatever. So just because we think we're kind of okay now, even if we're doing spiritual things or whatever, um, it doesn't mean we've reached the point of total kind of indestructibility, where we can't be affected by things, where we can't be fazed by things. Sometimes some things happen in people's lives and it just completely knocks them off balance. So this reminds me of one quote I like from one movie, one of my favorite movies, No Country for Old Men, which is from a novel by Cormac McCarthy as well, one of my favorite writers. And this main character is a sheriff in Texas from this. In this, it says, "When I was younger, I thought one day God would just come into my life. He didn't." This is what he says. This is kind of a different perspective because these days people don't even expect God to come into their life. This is at least coming from some kind of this is coming from some kind of conventional religious perspective. But even these days, people don't expect anything to happen. But the point that illustrates the point is that you know nothing unless we do something to go deeper and to connect and to make ourselves more stable, more well established in something which is more true, then we never know what's round the corner. We never know what life is going to bring us, and we don't know how that is going to affect us. We don't know if that's going to completely knock us off balance. People can have crazy overnight things happen with their health, and they wake up one day and it's like they're a completely different being. Their experience of the world is a physical being, is completely different than what it was. If people are used to living with someone or living with people for a certain many years in their life and then they lose someone, the same. It's like the whole fabric of that life gets changed then. So it's extremely foolish to assume that um, we're okay as we are and somehow things will just take care of themselves because they really won't actually when it comes to spiritual things. We really have to make a tremendous effort about these things because what we call samsara, which is like the cycle of unconscious existence from one body to the next, from one form of to the next. This cycle, this samsaric existence, it doesn't go on because we say, "Oh, I really want, I really want to live in samsara. I really want to be miserable. I really want to suffer." No, it carries on because of unconsciousness, because of this very sleepy, dull-minded approach to existence that, okay, destiny is favoring me at the moment. Everything is fine. So I'll enjoy. But then when things change, when destiny inevitably turns, we can find that we've not got a leg to stand on. This reminds me, I was thinking about this the other day. I don't know why I was thinking about this, but maybe it's in this Sun Tzu Art of War. It sounds like something which will be in this Art of War. Maybe that's where I heard it originally, which is a book about kind of the art of war, as it says. But it's kind of if you want to really destroy someone, so to speak, not trying to speak off track here, then a good thing to do would be to raise them up, i.e., to praise them very highly, to say, "You're so great, you're so brilliant." And people have done this, very cunning people of history have done this. Because what this does is when we get raised up on the level of ego and pride and whatever and stuff like this without actually genuinely developing in stature, is that a big, big, big fall is awaiting for us, and we take that fall in a very big way. As the saying goes, I mean, all of these things are in these old sayings. Pride comes before a fall. So if we really want to take someone down, we pump their pride up and up and up and up and up, and it this hastens the fall. The more our pride goes up, the more the fall is coming. But what I'm trying to say about this is that if our sense of stability is based on changing things, shifting things, superficial things, then again, as I always write on this group, when these things change, then we're going to crumble. Some people build their identity on some achievement or how much money they've got or how they look or what talent they've got and stuff like this. I said this on the last talk about these monstrosities that crop up now in the entertainment industry with people having plastic surgery. Basically, people that's whole sense of self-esteem was solely based on appearance. So what happens to the self-esteem when that appearance starts getting carried the way that age takes all appearances? Like shriveling up, like an old fruit. It happens to everybody. This is coming to us all. Unless we die young, then this is going to happen to everybody. So when this happens to people whose self-esteem is just built on appearance, then they feel that their self-esteem is being destroyed. And because they're living in this totally unconscious way, like pretty much everybody is in this day and age, they don't know how to handle this. So, okay, what do I do? Let me go and try and change the appearance. If someone's self-esteem is based on their position, and the position changes, I don't know, somebody leapfrogs them somehow on career ladder or whatever, and they find someone that's better than them. What do? They don't know about the teachings of finding self-esteem deep within on the level of the soul. So they have to go into the world, try and change something, try and become something more, try and get something more. So this, you see, this is how this wheel of samsara is spinning. Because these beings, let's say these people that are having all this plastic surgery, or people that lose a position or something like that, could lose a wealth and then they have to redeem it. At some point in these people's life, they're experiencing tremendous pleasure, tremendous glory. Look at me. Look how brilliant I am. World loves me. Everybody loves me. But as soon as you lose that redeeming quality, then they don't love you anymore. Because all these people in this state, they love you for this. They love you because you look like this, because you are this position. So they love you because they can get something from you, basically. So when you don't have that thing, goodbye, love. Goodbye. Goodbye, all of this. Right? So the spiritual thing is developing self-esteem that's beyond all of this nonsense. Then it doesn't matter what changes in the world. It doesn't matter when you become old, you start shriveling up like an old prune. Doesn't matter when you lose, you lose all your position, you retire or whatever, or it doesn't matter if you lose all your money, you know, become a vagabond, because you've, through practice, through the genuine path, you've managed to separate your self-esteem, your sense of joy and fulfillment from these aspects. That's what the path is. Our sense of beingness, our sense of happiness, fulfillment, security, esteem is tied up in many changing aspects. And when these aspects move, when these aspects shift, we feel troubled, or we feel miserable, or we feel shaken. So, so in simple terms, this is what the path is. It's realizing ourselves beyond all of these things, and then getting stable in that thing. And this the stability comes through trials, through challenges. Right? We can say, okay, now I'm a little bit stable. Then life will come and throw us a challenge. It'll throw us a challenge in this changing world, in this changing world of identifications, position, possession, relation. Okay, life will say, okay, what if I take this relation from you? What if I take this position from you? What if I take this possession from you? How are you going to react? And path is really made up of a lot of these kind of changes. And as we go along, we'll feel the pain. It's not like this happens overnight. We'll feel the pain of these challenges. But if we've heard this stuff, if we know what the path is, we can say to ourselves, look, I'm in pain because of this, because yes, I am identified. I am attached. I can see my the mechanism of my own misery here. This is what's got to happen. We have to become this person that sees all of this stuff. And when we see all of that stuff, then we can say, then we can make a choice. We can say, okay, do I want to pump my energy into this? Or do I want to go deeper in, inside myself, whatever that means for us, lean into presence of the guru, lean into my own practice? Because the other option when shit happens is that, okay, something has happened, then the other option is that we quickly run in and try and rebuild as quickly as we can. Like these people, okay, I'm identified in being physically attractive. Now I'm aging like an old prune. Now I have to take action and get all this plastic surgery done. That represents that stream of action. That okay, something is happening that I don't like. Now I have to do something to correct it. And all of this doing it involves something. Okay, it's energy. We do something. We have to take an action. We have to buy something. We have to talk to someone. We have to make a new relationship. We have to get, more skills, a new position. We have to control something. And if all of this stuff gets really out of hand, then we start doing all kinds of nonsense. We start controlling, we start manipulating, we start lying, we start stealing, we start pretending. All of these things exist on a continuum. See, we may think about some traits and we think, okay, these traits are only for evil people, these traits are only for psychopaths. But we all have the inside of us the roots of all of these things, of all of these abominations that some people do. We have the roots of these things inside of us. Just okay, we're at a stage there, they're pruned back, they're honed in. But for some people, some people who do terrible things exist for a certain period of time with these things pruned back and kind of collected, and then something happens and they can't handle it and they become a completely different person. Or people have these kind of traits honed in and pulled back because they haven't got the chance to exercise them. This happens when people, for instance, come into a lot of money or become famous or get put in a position of power. Some of these people become monsters overnight because they can get away with it now. It's very wise when we're nobody, when we're nothing, when we've got no money. It's very wise to be humble in this position because we're humble. We can kind of, people who are a bit higher up, we can kind of kiss their asses a bit and get up. It's a wise position. But if we become somebody, then what's the punishment going to be if we act like a prick? All of these stories are in the news every day about these kind of people. In UK, this has been in the news. This guy who used to own Harrods, this Al Fayed guy, 400 women coming forward who used to work for Harrods complaining about him, sexual abuse, sexual harassment, and all these kind of things. He wouldn't have been able to do these things if he was a cleaner or something at Harrods. No way, no way in hell would he have got away with these things. So the theme of this, what I'm saying here is that the changing situations of life bring out what is within us, good and bad. And we don't know what's going to come out. I mean, we don't know what we're made of until these situations come to us. Good and bad, same thing. I mean, we can be given a real tragic situation and we realize how strong we are or how unprepared we are, or we can be given like a apparently positive situation, right? We come into some money or we come into a powerful position or whatever, and then we may realize how this doesn't change us whatsoever. We come into a load of money, we remain exactly the same. Or we may realize that when this situation turns to the apparently positive, we become a complete prick, which which happens to people as well. Same thing coming out with all this entertainment industry, all these things when so many, you know, bad stories about all these kids also when they get fame at young ages, how many of these people end up self-destructing and all these kind of things. Because to deal with fame, to deal with power, to deal with money, to deal with these things responsibly, you have to be very mature, very mature. Because if you're not, these things can eat you and really tear you to pieces. And this is not just speculation. This is observable. Look in the news, right? This thing's happening all the time. So I don't like. I'm trying not to talk in an abstract way. I follow everything that's happening, or news, or nonsense, and all this kind of stuff because this everything is shown. Like spirituality, it's shown. Our spirituality, what spirituality we think we have. Our spirituality is what is happening in our everyday life. Look at your interactions with others. There's your spirituality. Look at how you feel from moment to moment. There's your spirituality. Look at how you do things. Look at how you perform simple, mundane, everyday tasks. There's your spirituality. Look what happens when some tragedy comes your way in life. There's your spirituality. Your spirituality is not what is happening when you're chanting or you're doing some visualization or you're doing some kriya or you're thinking about your guru or you're talking about your guru or you're going to visit some pilgrimage place or something. This is not your spirituality you see in your actual life, right? Actual life. This is the life that people on social media and stuff like this, they don't want to show, right? On this Instagram and stuff. The real life is what people are not putting on the Instagram, right? Real life is when people say, "Oh, how are you?" It's the stuff that we don't tell people, you know. This is the now spirituality is in this, right? And something that people observe. This is why I shared. It'd be good if people read this. I posted on the group this about 3 pages about Ramana Maharishi. Um, when people have met real masters and seen how they live, they're not so much, they don't end up being so impressed by what they say, even though some of them may be amazing speakers. But the real masters, you see them from how they actually live, how they do everything, day in and day out, how they interact with people. This is how you see somebody's spiritual stature. You see it, and people like Ramana Maharishi, there was nowhere to hide. He was just sitting there. He was in that ashram all day, every day, available to people. So there was no personal life whatsoever. There was nothing hidden. It's just what is. And in this article that I posted on the group, the guy was saying he's saying, I don't know whether he's a jnani or he's not a jnani. I don't know what this I don't know what this guy is. But this is what I observe. And then somebody commentator adds at the end of this article, this, and this. This is this is the traditional signs of a jnani, actually. This great simplicity, a great humility, no dogmatic teaching, mainly operating in silence, but responding if people need. And Ramana, for instance, until he got so overwhelmed with people coming to see him, he'd be very active in this ashram, cooking, mainly chopping, cooking, heavily involved in all these kind of things, helping plant things. So spirituality of masters is observable in how they live. I'd be very, um, you know, ideally, we want in an ideal situation, it is when we're thinking about connecting with masters or gurus or whatever, best situation is to see how this person lives. If we've got any doubts or we want to see what the nature of this thing is, like more we see somebody in ordinary situations, the more we can see about their nature. 100%. Um, so yeah, not so common these days when masters become like celebrities and this and that. Um, but yeah, and not everyone has the chance. I mean, I got a bit of this chance. I mean, I've spent time, close more or less with Mohanji like this. I stayed in Bangalore for some time. That's how we lived there and stuff, and a brief time at MCB and stuff like this. So, I got to have this kind of glimpse also of how. And I saw same things with Mohanji as well. Same things, just like this person sees with Ramana Maharishi, stuff like this, just this um, perfect way of living. So anyway, that's that short what I wanted to say there, and I'll just speak briefly about uh, this quote I put on the group. So I won't repeat it. You can just check the group if you want to read it again. This Mohanji's quote about bringing the presence of mind into whatever we do. I spoke about this many times. Um, it's more understandable if we say awareness instead of bringing the mind there. So when we think of mind, we think, oh, the mind with all its thoughts and emotions and nonsense and all this kind of thing. So main aspect of Raj Yoga practice is this presence of mind, presence of awareness in whatever we're doing. So again, I always give the same boring example with this. I'll give the same boring example now. We're cooking something, we're chopping something. Example, each time this knife comes down, our awareness has to be 100% there. When we're chopping this, when we're sieving this, when we're stirring this, nothing in the world should exist for us apart from that thing at that moment. We shouldn't be thinking about anything else. If there's some practical thing going on, right, in the house, maybe we're looking after kids, whatever, maybe we're cooking something else, whatever, maybe someone's talking, so it's fine. We can, if we think we can multitask, we can multitask. But what I'm talking about here is that when we're doing tasks, most of us have the habit of doing a task and daydreaming about useless things at the same time. So this we have to train to be, when we do something, to be 100% there, as if nothing in the world exists for us at that moment. You know, people who do high performance things or people who just have very good concentration know this state, like a flow state. Great athletes get into this state when they're performing highly, great, whatever, scientists, artists, whatever. But if we want to be a yogi, when in action, we must be in this state all the time. We must be in a flow state all the time. So we flow perfectly from one action to the other. Another example, when we're talking to somebody, when we're listening to somebody, that person, that what they're saying, that should be all that exists for us at that moment. Okay? If we want to have one half of our mind listening and the other half of our mind thinking about something else, fine, everybody does it, but this is not ideal for yogic practice. If we want to daydream, we can make an hour in a day, we can sit in a chair and we can think. But ideally, when we do something, we should be there 100% because that is the state of a yogi, that is the state of a siddha, is that when they're doing something, that's all that exists for them. They're perfectly there, 100% there. I once walked in when I was at Bangalore, I once walked in to Mohanji making dosas before. It was fantastic. There was something so beautiful about it. And with my spiritual eye, I saw this perfect concentration there. Like just perfect concentration, perfect bliss, everything. Like, so this should be there. So this is the point. This is the point of this quote. Presence of mind is that whatever we're doing, we should be there 100%. We should split this in two. We should have some period of the day. Let's say we have some spiritual practice, whether it's chanting, whether it's silent meditation, whether it's kriya, whether it's japa, anything like this. When we do this, the same thing. If we're doing silent meditation, then our point of focus is going to be either the breath or it's going to be what else? The gap between the thoughts, or it's going to be, you know, we get a sniff, we get a taste of this awareness, and we just keep coming back to this. This is what I was doing. I was never focusing on breath or anything like this. I got a glimpse of this silence, and I used to keep returning to that. That was my practice. So that's that. If we're doing japa, if we're doing mantras, if we're doing chanting, for instance, we're doing a round of 108, either out loud or internally. Each syllable of that mantra or whatever we're chanting, our mind must be there 100%. There shouldn't be any thought whatsoever, right? If you want to you want to be really strict, try and go through a mala of 108 soon as your attention lingers, go back to the beginning. This is how old school meditators used to be, like also in Tibet, when they were practicing Dzogchen meditation, they do it with the eyes open and they weren't allowed to blink. And the lamas would put some sindoor powder on the bottom of the eyes. So if they blinked, it'd go on the top eyelashes and they'd know that they'd blinked, and then they'd get a they'd get a whack. So, so maybe this wouldn't work in this day and age, but this is how some serious practitioners have been. But same thing applies. Whatever we're doing, this has to be there. So we need a point of focus. So if we're doing a spiritual practice, which is like our anchor, whatever it is, the silent meditation, chanting, kriya, or even if we're doing this practice of hatha yoga, like these asanas, in that, for instance, only feeling the breath or only feeling the body or the sensations of the body, again, not daydreaming. So in each discrete moment of life, every moment of life, we find, okay, what's my center here? What's my meditation? For instance, okay, I'm doing my spiritual practice. That's how I do chanting. My center here is fully feeling each word or each syllable of this mantra. I've done this in the past before. I've gone through, when I used to do a bit chanting and stuff like that, I've gone through, you can go through 108 while doing the mantra, and yet you're thinking of something at the same time somehow. The brain kind of can do this. So if you're doing that, your center is that mantra. If you're doing a silent meditation practice, your center is the feeling of being aware, or it's the space between, or it's your breaths, or it's the space between your breaths, or it's the space between the thoughts, whatever is most convenient for you. Okay, and then once you start going out you go out, you start your day again, find your center. Right, I'm cooking now. What's my center? What am I doing? What's in front of me? Right, so take whatever you are doing in each moment as the meditation practice. Right, even if you're just pouring cereal, right? I'm going to take a bowl out. Take that as your meditation. I'm just going to take a bowl. Can I take this bowl out from this cupboard to this table without daydreaming? Because I guarantee people do all of this stuff whilst daydreaming, without thinking. We're thinking all the time. Okay, and we can't, if we're serious about this path, we can't just be in the mode of, oh, that's just how it is, because then we'll never reach there. We'll never reach there otherwise. So, okay, let me just take this bowl out, put it there. Finished. I did that without daydreaming. Now let me get the cereal. Take that. Pour it. Let me do that without daydreaming. Milk in, and then eat. Same thing. It sounds a bit ridiculous when I talk about it in this way, but this is how it is. And once we start operating like that, we realize, oh wow, I'm actually awake all day. I'm actually conscious of what I'm doing. I'm not clumsy anymore. I'm not daydreaming anymore. I'm not getting lost in aimless trains of thoughts anymore. Right? So this is the way of doing it. Take everything in your life like this. Find the center, find the thing that you're doing, and treat that as a meditation. And when you're doing it, the mind will definitely wander. And you'll do it, and at first, because you're so habituated to thinking and daydreaming, you won't even notice that the mind has wandered. Okay, but that's the practice. You notice it's wandered. Oh, I noticed. I've caught myself. Then you bring it back. Bring it back to whatever. If you're doing a spiritual practice, you bring it back to the mantra or the breath. If you're part of normal day life, maybe you've got some task which is a part of your work, you bring it back to that. Or you're cooking, you bring it back to whatever is happening with your cooking or whatever, or the cleaning or whatever like this. Very, very simple. And this is it. This is the center of the Raj Yoga practice. Okay, Raj Yoga means the yoga of the like the supreme yoga. Raja means king, right, or emperor. The emperor, the king, is the awareness, right? So that has to be present all the time. That awareness has to flow like oil from moment to moment through the whole day, right up until we go to sleep. And when we go to sleep, we should preferably lie in shavasana, corpse pose on our back, flat, and we should meditate like this. Whatever our meditation method is, breath, awareness, mantra, we should do this before we go to sleep and try and retain our awareness as long as possible before we fall to sleep in that position on our back with proper breathing. So it continues right up until we go to sleep, right? And if we do this really well, even if we have dreams, it'll even be there. We'll even be conscious in the dreams. Right? And eventually people can even become conscious in deep sleep as well. They become conscious as the self, as pure luminosity in deep sleep. So this is how it's done. This what I've just said, this is the Raj Yoga practice. Then whatever you call your spiritual practice that involves sitting and meditating, mantra kriya, doing some yoga poses, whatever, that's just a part of you. That's just a part of your day. You're not doing that all the time, right? But what's behind all of this has to be this awareness, has to be this presence of mind, right? And you carry that over in this schema, that morning meditation, whatever's no important than what you do after that, you know, whatever you're doing then, chores, work, talking to people, relaxing, whatever. No more important, that awareness has to flow from moment to moment. So this is the way to do this. And I guarantee if people can really work like this and really keep a hold on themselves like this through the whole day, treating whatever they're doing as a meditation, finding the center in it, and then bringing their attention back to that thing very, 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 very quick, we'll move forward on this path. This path can be done in one life, if only if people practice like this. It's not, oh, we can get liberated in this life if okay, I just meditate for an hour in the morning. No, sorry, it's not like that. It has to be 20, it has to be 24 hours a day. Because again, I said also this line before, we don't want to be enlightened for just this hour in the morning, do we? We want to be enlightened all day. So the sadhana must be going on all day. Very simple. Small child could work this out. An honest one, though, right? We're adults, but sometimes we're dishonest to ourselves, and that's where our stupidity lies. Nasty thing, not pleasant thing to say, but it's true. Right? Sometimes children, very small, very silly, very innocent, but sometimes they're very honest and they can be a lot more wiser than adults in these moments, right? Okay. I said what I wanted to say.